Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again to Samuel Adams Returns. Those Anti-federalists, every time we gather, I have to say, they got it absolutely spot on correct. And this is Tom Novolis, your host, and I am so delighted to be with you again. And quite frankly, I'm really excited to be here on Liberty Works Radio Network, which has been hosting me for the last number of years, and they're doing a fantastic job. Um, and I'm happy. It's a crazy world out there. I don't know about the rest of you, but up here in Northeast Ohio, we have been getting some snow. You know, it was one of those things we thought we were going to have a snowless winter, but we live in the snow belt where I'm at. And you know what? I don't care what else is happening. I guarantee you, we will always have over 100 inches of snow. Guaranteed. So, what's that got to do with what is going on in these United States or in Ohio itself? Well, let me tell you, I have been just watching all this drama, watching all of these different aspects of the back and forth of the neo-communist Pelosi and her ilk, her minions all gathered around her, the Soros bow downs, all of them, and our fantastic fighter are none other than that New York boxer, that New York scrapper, just taking on the people. No different than what was occurring during the Revolutionary period and what was happening during the constitutional debates. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have not put it together from this program, if you have not, I'm going to lay it out for you very, very, very succinctly. The Demoncrats are, in fact, the modern day Tories that have tormented the patriots, that tormented all of America. The Tories who, tied with the financial globalist, were determining to subvert and to enslave the people of the colonies of that day. No different are we seeing right now that the Demoncrats, owned by the globalists, by the Soros, by the Koch brothers, by all of the other mega industrialists, let alone the giant bankers, okay? And I'm going to talk about that because the Anti-federalists lay out those exact terms when we get there. This isn't tinfoil hat stuff. This goes all the way back to this revolutionary period. So we're in a revolutionary period for sure. For sure we are. One of the things that it was interesting is that during Obama's first election, I was up on the observation area of the Empire State Building. And I was watching up there what was happening, and as all the red and the blue light or whatever it is that kind of goes up the side of the Chrysler Building there. It was very, very interesting, and it's kind of a thing to watch. But being on top of the Empire State Building, it was most interesting to have a conversation with people from Europe. And I've told you this story before. And they videotaped me because they were doing some class work of what was happening in America, especially during that time of the election. And I stated to them that what they will see during Obama's first election, if in fact he gets elected, is that we will see the American Revolution happening again. And that it will come to a point of just very ugliness, the very ugliness that actually occurred during the revolutionary period. If anybody, any historian out there, any of these talking heads tries to tell you that we have gone through a kind period, well, they don't understand the sinfulness of mankind, and they don't understand that when you irritate truth, truth is supposed to stand against tyranny. It's supposed to stand against despotism, and truth should be louder than any of the ugliness and lies and deception that is coming from those who, in this case, are the industrialist Marxists' perspective. Whereas we need to be coming from that patriotic Christian perspective. No two ways about it. And I say that Christian perspective very plainly because if you have not been following what has been going up on the chapters of the chaplains and clergy of the revolution, I ask you, no, I'm going to tell you, you better get over to samueladamsreturns.net, and at the top there in the menu, it says chaplains and clergy. Click on that menu item, and it's taking you to the most profound book that absolutely proves that the pulpits were absolutely involved in the American Revolution, in preparing the people for the American Revolution. A lot of pastors out there just don't want to hear that, nor do they want to admit it, but mostly they don't know it. This book that was published in 1864 has been hidden from them by the academics in the cemeteries that they went to. Oh, those are the colleges where they teach someone to be a preacher and kind of teach them in theological stuff. Because if you take, for instance, let's see, what was that place down there in New Jersey? Is that the Yale place? Well, John Witherspoon, they have no clue about Witherspoon alone. Witherspoon, theologian, preacher, signer of the Declaration of Independence, held a seat in Congress. Wow. Interesting. Anyway, go there, samueladamsreturns.net, and you'll be able to also see the archives of these programs there as well. Because as you who are listening on the radio today, you can go and see the video and see all my expressions as I talk about all these fantastic things. So, what's real interesting? What's real interesting is, Pelosi and the Demoncrats are exactly that. They're Demoncrats. They're evil. They are trying to destroy everything that is a part of our republic. You got them putting in bills to take out every this, that, and the other thing. So one of the ones that was real interesting that I saw this week on Twitter by Jim Jordan is that H.R. 1, the first bill that the Demoncrats in the House of Representatives are proposing. It's a lot there. I'll put the link to the whole article in that for you on WashingtonPost.com. But Jim Jordan kind of takes and summarizes it this way. He says what the Demoncrats, or he calls them Democrats, he kind of gives them the benefit of the doubt. They're demons, trust me. What they want to do is lower the voting age to 16 in this H.R. 1. 16? The majority of 16-year-olds in America, sure, they can drive, but I guarantee they can't wipe their, let alone understand what is going on in government, because they can't get away from their PlayStations or figure out, what they need to do to go have sex with whomever they want. They can't even figure out what gender they are, let alone to be able to take and understand the moral responsibility to vote. 16? Wow. Oh, another point is here. Here's the one you're gonna love, what the Demoncrats want from you. Give the federal workers 6 days paid vacation, in addition to the 30 or 45 that they already get. Give them 6 days paid vacation to work at the polls so that voter fraud can absolutely be there more than what it has been. Oh, this is just too much fun. I'm so excited and having fun with this one. H.R. 1 by the Demoncrats. Okay, lower the voting age to 16, then give all those communist federal workers 6 days of paid vacation to go take and corrupt the polls more than what they already are. Wow. And here's number 3. There's a lot more in this when you go read the article. It's hilarious. But here's number 3. And this one's going to tickle you. Make taxpayers finance campaigns. Oh, wait a minute. On your income taxes now, you can volunteer to kick that dollar in towards that, presidential campaign. The Demoncrats want you. Wait a minute. We're already funding campaigns. We're doing that by virtue of all of the public employee unions getting all this money, and the public employees, especially those that are leftists and Marxists and communists and Demoncrats in all the bureaucracies, take time because they're protected. They're really coddled and protected so that they can use their places, their work offices, and their work time to go against the Republic, to stand against the Republic and fight against the Republic. Wait a minute. So we're already paying for campaigns because all of these pussy hat wearing people are taking and going out and marching against our Republic for their ideological, destructive purposes. Wow. That's the first bill that the Demoncrats, well, H.R. 1 anyway, they're already putting other resolutions and they're putting other constitutional amendments forward that are nothing but to destroy this constitutional republic. So, that's why we have the Anti-federalists. That's why we're going to be getting into some of these things on what the Anti-federalists had to say that mirrors in history, as I call this program, the mirrors in history. Mirrors it almost word for word that is happening in the press, that's happening with all of the talking heads, that's happening with all of the bureaucrats and the demon politicians that are out there, including then their puppet masters, those that control the strings of them, and their funding sources, the international bankers, George Soros. And, I got to keep throwing the Koch brothers in there now because they're against Donald Trump so badly. It's amazing to me that Americans for Prosperity hasn't found a way to break away from the Koch brothers' grip. It just totally blows my mind. But you know what? You got to have somebody helping fund it, and AFP does a lot of good things. So anyhow, not to belittle them, but boy, oh boy, I'll tell you, the rest of them are interesting at best. So, there's also so many other things that are happening in local politics. Check on SamuelAdamsReturns.net under the subcategory there on the blog side about taxation, property taxes. I'm starting to hit it hard and heavy in respect to self-inflicted eviction. It's systemic. It's systemic across the country, but I'm speaking very specifically in those writings to what's happening in Ohio, Northeast Ohio, and in my county. Because remember, the taxing authorities, those subdivisions in your county, in your state, are doing the same thing to you, taxing the living daylights out of you with your permission. You're self-inducing the pain of your property tax. Anyway, so much more to go and cover on that, but I am just excited to take you through those mirrors of history when we move into segment number 2 and then 3 later on, and talking about this whole idea of what has happened with a consolidated government that the Anti-federalists have warned us about. The Anti-federalists warned exactly what is happening. Not from the Marxist perspective. They didn't quite see all of that utopianism turning so powerfully against everything else that was rational. But Sam Adams saw that. So come on back as we walk through the mirrors of history when Samuel Adams returns and those Anti-federalists, they did absolutely absolutely get it right. And we're sponsored here on Liberty Works Radio Network. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the second segment of Samuel Adams Returns. Those anti-federalists, they did. They absolutely got it right. And as we look at those mirrors of history, we're going to be taking a dive into just a couple of the anti-federalist papers. And listen, I really want you to listen as I read through these. And I'm going to be kind of picking and choosing a little bit in this, in that the language is the same. Don't be fooled, as I said in the first segment, that everything went along so peaceful, so wonderful. No, as Pastor Daggett, the pastor of one of the universities there out of New Haven, you go figure that one out, was taken and bayoneted on a march into New Haven because he was up on the hill acting as a sniper, taking out British troops as they were trying to invade New Haven. Yeah, that's a truth that you're not going to hear very often, but that is in Chaplains and Clergy of the Revolution, which is on SamuelAdamsReturns.net. But there's more. There's more. It was ugly, because the whole reality and fact was no different than all of the anarchy that's going on because of the Demoncrats. That was happening at our time. That was happening during the Revolution. That was happening where women were being raped. Homes were being burned down. Children were being killed and massacred by the Tories and the British. Oh my. Demoncrats, as I said in the first segment, are no different than the Tories back during the Revolutionary period. Black Lives Matter, Antifa, all of the others that are promoted and protected by the Demoncrats, as well as all the other ugly stuff in the bureaucracies and agencies that are out there. Nonetheless, let's go on. So let's take a quick look, if we can, here at Anti-Federalists, kind of out of the one book that I was looking at. They're calling it Anti-Federalist 1. I don't classify it that. A dangerous plan of a benefit only to the aristocratic combination. This was on the 26th of November, 1787, by one of my favorite anti-federalists, a federalist. Because you have to remember, as I said, as we look through history, the Federalists, that being Hamilton and Jay, they in particular stole, and Madison, but it was Hamilton that really stole the idea of Federalist when in fact he was not really a Federalist. Hamilton was one of the aristocratic desires of a consolidated America. Whereas, as I've told you many, many times before, those which got the label anti-federalists were in fact the true Federalists, understanding the separation of what? The states as individual republics federating together. Anyway, enough on that. Mirrors in history. So this is from the Boston Gazette and Country Journal, November 26, 1787. And he's talking about the new plan for consolidating the government of the United States. And he's talking that the people are the grand inquest who have a right to judge its merits. And that's what ultimately any of the legislation that should be going on out there is, that we the people, if we're educated and smart enough in understanding how our constitutional republic is supposed to function, we're the final judges. And we do represent people, but we have a right to tell those whom we represent what to do. And they are not the smartest people on the earth. Trust me. All right. Then it goes on to say that the hideous demon of aristocracy has hitherto had so much influence as to bar the channels of investigation, preclude the people from inquiry, and extinguish every spark of liberal information of its qualities. So we see that happening, especially when we want to take a look at the deep state and what's really happening in Washington, D.C., and what's actually come about because of the perversions in the court and the perversions in legislation and treaties. And what we have is that the hideous demon of aristocracy. That's what we have. Definitely, people are pretending. Nancy Pelosi just is pretending that the Capitol building, the House side of the Capitol building, is the People's House. I put up on Twitter to her point in saying that is no. What has happened is because of her ideology, her minions and ilk, that house, that side of the Capitol is now the Politburo of the ideologies of the neo-Marxist. Okay. Now, we also hear that under this, and in this article, it says that the deceptive mist cast before the eyes of the people by the elusive machinations of its interested advocates begins to dissipate. Wait a minute. So what we have is exactly what they're saying. The Demoncrats want you to believe that everything is wonderful. There's no problem down at the border. There's no invasion. There's no crisis. But thank you, Lord Jesus, for Donald Trump, because that is starting to dissipate. And it goes on to say, as darkness flies before the burning taper. Wow. Those furious zealots who are cramming it down the throats of the people without allowing them either time or opportunity to scan or weigh it in a balance of their understanding bear the same marks in their features as those who have been long wishing to erect an aristocracy in this Commonwealth, that being of Massachusetts. Their menacing cry is for a rigid government. It matters little to them of what kind. Oh my goodness gracious. If that does not strike to the exact thing of the cries for socialism, the cries for neo-Marxism in every side of the Demoncrats and all those that are in the bureaucracies that are of their ilk, I don't know what to say. You hear all this stuff on the mainstream media, and I include all the talking heads on Fox and that because they don't want to talk about these truths and these mirrors of history. They just want to push those emotional buttons. That's all they want to do. No, what he's saying here is that we need to have the real facts. We need to have the real truth, because what's happening are the zealots for aristocracy are taking and pushing for rigidity in government. That means that they're it. They rule. As you already see, Nancy Pelosi and her ilk, and crying Chucky Schumer and his ilk, I'm sorry, folks, if you cannot grasp their ideology as neo-Marxist and as destructive to our republic, then, wow. Well, on this program, okay, I'm pretty much talking to the choir. It doesn't get out very too far, maybe to you who are listening, but it's important stuff to know our history. Anyway, I just keep going on. In order to deceive them, that's you and me, those that want to build this aristocracy, they incessantly declare that none can discover any defect in the system but bankrupts who wish no government, and officers of the present government who fear to lose a part of their power. Oh my goodness. I don't know what to say. This was even before all the bureaucracies and the Constitution was put into effect. Our friend, the Federalist, he's writing this here. I mean, get that. They want to deceive us. They incessantly declare that none can discover any deficit in the system. There's no problem on the border. There's no problem. We don't have any problem. The only problems that are out there is what Donald Trump, and he's destroying our economy and our freedoms and our liberties. Really? Get a grip. You know, and then the whole thing is officers of the present government who fear to lose part of their power. Ladies and gentlemen, it always comes down to power. From such covered and designing schemes to enforce it upon them. Designing schemes to enforce things upon us. I mean, I just opened the first segment. Go back to the archives at samueladamsreturns.net and watch the video. The scheme by H.R. 1 that the Demoncrats are proposing is to destroy even more what they're doing in their insanities. No, it's not insanities, it's their evil. Okay, get this. Compulsive or treacherous measures to establish any government whatever. You get that? That's what they're doing. Compulsive or treacherous measures to establish any government whatever. That's what they want to do. And boy, are they ever compulsive. My goodness gracious. I think Nancy Pelosi's drugs are all mixed up. Anyway, here's what our Federalist friend has to say. I'd rather be a free citizen in a small republic of Massachusetts than an oppressed subject of the great American empire. Very interesting. Okay, I'm down to 3 minutes. The inundations of abuse that has been thrown out upon the heads of those who have had any doubt of its universal good qualities have been so redundant, every news program, hundreds of news programs, that it may not be improper to scan the characteristics of the most strenuous advocates. That's what's going on in the media all the time. So when you take and you are contrary to their ideology, then they just slam on you. It comes on hard. And it's redundant over and over. Nothing new. Get it? This is not new stuff that's happening. All right? These violent partisans are for having the people gulp down the gilded pill blindfold. That's all the Demoncrats want you to do. Just gulp it down. Which pill is it? Is it the red pill or the blue pill? Red pill or the blue pill? Just gulp it down. It'll be okay. Just take it. Just gulp it down. All right. But that's what they want. And they're violent partisans. The Demoncrats are violent partisans. All right. And they're without qualification. They consist of these different noble orders, these different caucuses, holders of public securities, men of great wealth and expectations of public office, bankers and lawyers, with their train of dependents from the aristocratic combination. The lawyers in particular keep up the incessant declamation for its adoption. Like greedy grungeons, they long to satisfy their voracious stomachs with the golden bait. The numerous tribunals to be erected by the new plan of consolidated empire will find employment for 10 times the present number. Wow. Talk about bloated bureaucracy. These are the loaves and fishes for which they hunger. He ends with this as we get into this last minute. He says, I hope my fellow citizens will look well into the characters of these folks and remember the old patriots of 75. They have never led them astray, nor need they fear to try them out of this momentous occasion. Look back to 1775. The patriots there, the great patriots, because every one of these people, did you get that? 10 times the number in the bureaucracies? Ladies and gentlemen, they saw this at the very beginning. It's just amazing. And yet, the talking heads on Fox and all of the others can't bring this history together for you to understand, to look to Samuel Adams and the Anti-Federalists, because we're going to return as we come into segment number 3. We'll be talking with you in a couple of minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this third segment of Samuel Adams Returns. Those Anti-Federalists, they did. They absolutely got it right. And you know something? We're finding out that what's happening today is nothing new. What we did in the last segment, going over what was written by a Federalist, a true Federalist, is just amazing. Corruption, deceit, everything that he talked about back then in this fine year of 1787 is exactly what is happening in the present. Wow. Wow. All right, let's go on to 16 January 1788 by Centennial. Excuse me, it's not the Centennial because that's a 100-year thing. This is the Sentinel. The Sentinel, the watcher, the person standing guard duty, the Sentinel. Boy, that's who you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be that Sentinel. So the Sentinel, he wrote the largest series of anti-federalist essays, and that was a pseudonym, the Sentinel. They were in the Philadelphia Independent Gazette. He ran 24 essays between October 5th, 1787 and November 24th, 1788. Now you have to remember that a lot of times, like in that little abridged book that I usually carry around, that 3x5, several hundred pager, that does not have all the anti-federalist papers. If you remember that the University of Chicago has the 7 volumes. They're kind of like these volumes here, about 500-600 pages, maybe 700 pages per volume of anti-federalist papers. And remember that the deal was cut that if the Constitution was accepted, that part of how the Constitution would be implemented and how it would be governed would be the principles within the context of the Anti-Federalist Papers. But the reality is the Federalists stabbed them in the back. They got the Constitution. We have a consolidated government. And now we have to look back, as I finished the last segment with, to 1775 and the patriots of that day and the patriot pastors of that day. Before I jump into what the Sentinel had to say, is I am going to keep pressing you to go either read it or go listen to my reading it to my grandchildren, the chaplains and clergy of the Revolution, because, ladies and gentlemen, if we do not have a moral establishment from the pulpits, as we did prior to the Revolution, you're not going to be able to keep it. You can't sustain it unless you understand that the human relationship is not just to a government or within a government. The human relationship, if you just look at the 10 Commandments alone, is between individuals and God Almighty of the Bible. That's in totality. And from a Reformation perspective, the truth of what that means. Society then is of you and me coming together. Once we understand our relationship between God and ourselves and where we are, then you and I can interact. Then you and I can have some sensibility, morality, and context by which we can, yes, have that individual created perspective that God gave us as individually created people, men and women only. And then we go from there. So, having that understanding, Let's think about this. The Sentinel, in one of his 24 essays, comes out and says here in January, 16 January 1788, the evils of anarchy have been portrayed with all the imaginary of language in the growing colors of eloquence. The affrighted mind is thence led to clasp the new Constitution, or in our modern cases, to clasp all of these ideologies of the left, of the Demoncrats, of the globalists, of those that say that global warming is going to destroy us in 5 years, as the instrument of deliverance. Get that? So let's take and expand that one again. The evils of anarchy have been portrayed with all the imaginary of language in the growing colors of eloquence. The affrighted mind is thence led to clasp the new ideas, the new sense of government, the new whatever it is, the new ideologies as the instrument of deliverance, as the only avenue to safety and happiness. To avoid the possible and transitory evils of one extreme, it is seduced into the certain and permanent misery necessarily attended on the other. So it's kind of like throwing that reflection out there. You're saying, oh, you got evils over here, you got these problems over here. Well, look over here. That's that sleight of hand thing. Look over here, and we're going to do all of that over there. For those that watch the video, you'll see my sleight of hand. It's really tricky. Not. He continues, a state of anarchy from its very nature can never be a long continuance. The greater its violence, the shorter duration. Ladies and gentlemen, so Black Lives Matter, Antifa, you see how the media has kind of slipped? Boom, there it is, and they're doing all these things and all these riots and all of this. Then boom, you have the Antifa is still going crazy out in weird Portland and all of that. Then boom, you have all these women that are radicalized in their ideologies, and they're running around with these goofy looking, what they call pussy hats and all this stuff. And boom, you have now where New York State is taking and allowing the murder of children at birth. They say up to birth. No, at birth, if you will. Oh, they can kill the baby just moments before it comes out of the womb. Wow. That just is sick. So that's anarchy. Okay, that's anarchy. And the violence of it can be of a short duration. A lot of those things have gone away. Some of them now, especially with that abortion in New York, is codified. Order and security are immediately sought by the distracted people beneath the shelter of equal laws and the salutary restraints of regular government. And if this be not attainable, okay, that's what people want. Did you get that? People want that. If it's not attainable, then what happens? If it's not attainable, absolute power is assumed by the one or a few, Nancy Pelosi and her ilk and minions, who shall be the most enterprising and successful in their ideology. If anarchy, therefore, were the inevitable consequence of rejecting the new Constitution or all of this other stuff, it would be infinitely better to incur it, for even then there would be at least the chance of a good government rising out of licentiousness. But to rush into despotism, because there is a bare possibility of anarchy ensuing from the rejection or from what is yet more visionary, the small delay that would be occasioned by a revision and correction of the proposed system of government is to be superlatively weak, so fatally blind that it is astonishingly any person of common understanding should suffer such an imposition to have the least influence on his judgment. Still more astonishing that so flimsy and deceptive a doctrine would make converts among the enlightened freemen of America who have so long enjoyed the blessings of liberty. Ladies and gentlemen, on the YouTube, and then also at the archives at samueladamsreturns.net are these two letters. If you didn't get the links to those by not subscribing, which I hope you all will subscribe, and you can subscribe to the newsletter at samueladamsreturns.net. On the home page, on the bottom left-hand side is an area where you can subscribe to getting the newsletter and the promos for every one of these programs. But most importantly, how much time, Kath? About 3 minutes? About 3.5 minutes. So here we have to come to a conclusion and things you need to do. So what we've seen is that the Demoncrats are already proposing the evil of any type of government that they want to redesign by destroying all of the fundamental principles of the republic. First off, by changing the voting age to the extent that they would want to do by 16 actually means that they want idiots to vote. Because quite frankly, I will say, based on our educational system, most 16-year-olds, as I said before, can't wipe their noses. That's it, noses. And then with that, all of the other things, and go look at that link on the Washington Post. Now, what we have seen again is that they are proponents of anarchy. We're seeing that they're driving anarchy, and everything that they're doing are the subtle deceptions and the sleight of hand movements. So what do you do? What do you do? Well, first off, you go talk to your pastors and you tell them that you want them to read the chaplains and clergy of the revolution. And the reason why is that they need to understand that they need to get out of their little shelters and get out there and become involved. They need to be involved in every aspect of human culture and involved also in the fight, the battle for morality and taking back the despotism and tyranny that has occurred under the Demoncrats and all of these other neo-Marxist, liberal, socialist ideologies that are before us. What else can you do? You need to go to all of the county boards, and you need to go to your school boards, and you need to go to all of the other meetings and get off your duffs, as I always say, get your butts out of your seats and your feet on the streets. And the streets being to all of these different things that are affecting your tax dollars and that are taking and making decisions for you locally that are impacting your life at the local area. Ladies and gentlemen, there is so much that's going on right now that is taking and impacting everything. And it does require action. Just listening to this program is not enough. You can be educated out the kazoo, and guess what? You're educated out the kazoo. What does that mean? You know how to play the kazoo? No, we have to act. This is the year to act. We have to act locally. We have to act in every way that we can. Writing letters, making phone calls, visiting these different board meetings, challenging your local politicians, challenging your local bureaucrats. Yeah, they have a resistance going on, but you have to challenge. Our job now is to challenge and prepare for not only things that are coming at you like levies throughout this whole year of 2019, but prepare for 2020 because they're out there preparing. and they're already doing stuff. So too should we. Look to 1775, and those patriots, when Sam Adams returns. The Anti-federalists, yes, they did. They had it right.